Mute themselves.
Yeah, I'm just going to, I'll mute everybody. That's all right. Mute. All right. Good evening, everybody. And yes, you can't hear me? Oh, hold on a second. You can hear me. Okay. Why am I not coming up on the screen? It's very strange. All right. Anyway, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this, our virtual tour of our wonderful adventure starting in Kenya in September 2019. So this year, in a couple of months' time. I have the lovely Kate Selesi, who will be joining me in co-hosting tonight, and I will do a bit of an introduction with Kate a little bit later. What I'm going to do now is to start our presentation. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. And hopefully everybody will be able to see it. All right. Let's see. Right, can everybody see the presentation in front of you? Yes? Everybody just nod your heads, that's perfect. Sorry, I've muted you all, so I can't hear you. All right, we're going to start it from the beginning. All right, so welcome to our virtual tour. This is really regarding our adventure to Kenya that we're having later this year. And it's called The Awakening to the Ancient Elephant Song. And Kate can share a little bit more with you why we decided to call it that, because there is a specific reason. And our venture is in support of the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust in Kenya. And they are the wildlife trust that support the African elephant, and particularly orphaned elephants anywhere in Kenya. They are very much a forward-moving, on-the-ground type charity and trust, and we absolutely love the work they do. So we're very thrilled that our participation with them and our contribution towards their efforts is what our tour is very focused on. So tonight's adventure will be co-hosted by myself and Kate. Right. So I will do a quick introduction around My Avatar Adventures as an organization, just to give you a little bit of background about who we are. And then there'll be an introduction about myself specifically and my background and history, and of Kate's too, just in case you don't know enough about Kate yet. And then we'll do the virtual tour and then leave some time for question and answers at the end. So just to start off with, My Avatar Adventure was created primarily when I remember the film Avatar. Even the colors and the particular font in the logo all comes from Avatar, the movie, because it had a profound effect on me. And it really is about our own personal journey and responsibility and connection with Mother Nature and the planet and the animals. So that's pretty much where the name came from. We are very much a conscious-based organization, in that we offer what we call purposeful or educational type adventures. And they're always in support of a specific wildlife project. So I have done one with the White Lions in support of the Global White Lion Protection Trust in South Africa. And now we do this one for the elephants in support of the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. Our mission and our vision, it's pretty simple, and you can read that for yourself, but just to summarize, it really is, our mission is really to help humans reconnect to nature, to the animals, through a deep soul connection, remembering that we're all part of one. Our vision is to save as many of the endangered wildlife species, both plants and animals, as we possibly can, through creating a movement of awareness and educating individuals through our adventures and the Sacred Wildlife Project. Now, it's a new initiative that we've created. So that's a little bit about our organization. The model of our adventures is also really unique. And they have 4 specific elements to them. This is not a traditional safari, and it's certainly not a traditional holiday, if you like, type safari. It is much more about going with a specific purpose and really expanding our hearts and our minds and our connection with nature in a profound way. So the first element is that we like to create awareness around specific plights of individual animals. Hold on a second. All right, whoever's just joined, could you do me a favor and mute yourself? That would be great. Mary, is that Mary? That's great. Thanks, Mary. That's where the echo was coming from. Thank you for prompting me. The support of specific charities is the other element, and we really focus mostly on grassroots level projects, not on the higher, bigger wildlife trusts. And there's a very good reason for that. We want to make sure that our contribution, our money, our resources, our time, our effort is actuated at a groundroots level rather than being taken up by running a charity. The 2 that we're supporting at the moment are the Global White Lion Protection Trust and the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, and a new one which we're bringing on board is the Dolphin Research Centre in Mozambique. The 3rd element to our model, our specific model, is each adventure has a specific animal that we learn interspecies communication with. That is our focus, but it's not our only animal, of course. And we do that through interspecies, what we call communing, training and understanding how to have a much deeper connection with the animals. And we do that prior to the adventure and then put it into practice during the adventure with, of course, the support and guidance of Kate. And so this is a really unique opportunity to connect with the animals, the land, and the people in a very different way than you would do on a normal safari. And the last element is our element of contribution. It's one of our 7 C principles of conscious lifestyle and business that we include in our the way that we run our organization. And the contribution is a way of us giving back with our time, with resources, with whatever we can, that we can leave a positive impression or footprint on each place that we go to visit. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that and how we do that in our adventures, and particularly on this one. Okay, next slide. I don't know what it is that my slides are having a problem with. Sorry. Having a problem with, I'm just going to go out of, my slide doesn't want to change. Just hold on a second. I had the same problem last night on a different computer. So I have a feeling this has something to do with PowerPoint. All right. Just excuse me, I'm just going to stop sharing. Exit full screen. Let's see what's going on. There we go. So I apologize. We'll go back into that. And then from this slide. And share the screen again. Sorry, everybody. I apologize. And share. And go from the current slide. All right. So just a little information about me, because for most of you, it's the first time that I'm meeting you. My background has been in event management for the last 27 years now. And as you can tell, or maybe you can't tell, but I have an accent, and I was born in Zimbabwe, but brought up in South Africa. Left South Africa about 18 years ago. Yes, about 18 years ago, moving to the UK. And then about 6 years ago, I moved here to Spain. All during this period, I have been lucky enough to travel all over the world to help create, manage, and host a number of different events of all different types, ranging from corporates to non-profit to personal development. And it's been an amazing career, but as you can imagine, a very busy and full-on one. So when I moved here to Spain, I really wanted to change what I was doing. And I really went on a path of personal discovery and spiritual enlightenment, if you like. And I was, through my dreams and my meditations, I was being visited by a beautiful white lion called Mandla. I didn't know his name at the time. I only found out his name later when I went to visit and meet him in person. And so I started researching white lions, because even though I'd seen them once in South Africa, I just couldn't understand why I would be having visions and dreams of this beautiful white lion. And that's how I found the Global White Lion Protection Trust, and Linda Tucker, who is the woman who runs the organization. And so I went out to visit her and her organization and reserve, and it was in South Africa, and it was the first time I was back in South Africa for many years. So it was an incredible experience. And the beautiful soul-heart connection I had during that experience with not just Mandla, but a number of the other white lion prides. And that is the only area, and it's near Kruger National Park in South Africa, that the white lions are actually born naturally. And I don't know if you know this, but white lions are considered extremely rare and sacred. They're not albinos. They are actually a subspecies of lion. And of course, from a poaching and hunting point of view, they're highly sought after. So they're very well protected. There are only 15 left in the wild, which is terribly sad, as you can imagine. And they are definitely spiritual beings, there's no doubt about it. But my experience with them really started me on the path of interspecies communication. And my whole world was turned upside down. And I realized even as a child I was able to speak to animals, but had it pushed aside, as many of us did. And so that was reignited. And so I started on my journey of refocusing my training on building my interspecies communication abilities. And therefore started creating the adventures tied into helping people to learn more about their own interspecies abilities to communicate. And that's how I met the wonderful Kate Selesi. It was actually through another animal communicator who I approached to do the elephant adventure, who couldn't actually make the dates, and had highly recommended Kate. And it was like meeting my soul sister. It was incredible, and I knew straight away she was absolutely the right person to collaborate with, to co-host these adventures. And with that, I'm going to pass over to the lovely Kate.
Thank you, Tamar. Great to be with everybody tonight. This is so exciting for me. Of course, we did a trip last year and we learned a lot. Kathy was with us last year. We're so excited. She will be back and be taking photographs of our adventures. I have been an animal communicator, a professional, for over 25 years, and it is such a blessing to be able to bring the voice of our beloveds, our cats and dogs and horses and bunnies and and turtles and everybody. But one of my great loves is being able to be a voice for the wild ones. I really feel that we have an extraordinary need and opportunity to learn from our wild kin. And so when Tamar contacted me, because I've been following the Shelter Trust for a long time, and just thinking that all would be right in my world if I ever had the chance to visit. She called me and said, "That's where we're going." I burst into tears. So this was a magical trip, and one of the things that I so loved was being on the land with the animals. And we'll talk a little bit about more of that and how different it is, and when they have to be in our land, in our cities, our towns, our, you know, it's such a very, very different feeling when you are with them in their native land and see them doing what they normally do, and allowing ourselves to connect in a different way and at a different level. So in terms of my background, as I mentioned, 25 years plus as an animal communicator, working with individual people and their pets, but also with holistic veterinarians, dog trainers, horse trainers, many different collaborations. And I've, of course, written quite a few books. And again, it is just, I feel so blessed. And I am very much in service to our animal family and Mother Earth, and to the humans who all love them and wish to learn more from them and learn how to listen at a deeper level. So that's a little bit about me.
Thanks, Kate. And I think what makes it really unusual, and I did a lot of research around this, is it's quite difficult to find animal communicators that have extensive experience at communing with wildlife, because the communication is, the positioning of us as humans is very similar, but the different way that we communicate and the messages that we receive is intrinsically different when it comes to wildlife. And therefore, you know, finding somebody who really understood that, had some experience of it, and of course through your wonderful counsel messages that you have on a regular basis, you know, from all the different animal species, it was just wonderful to be able to find somebody who was so already in tune with wildlife. Because intuitively I knew that, you know, as humans, as a human species, we have a lot to offer. However, when it comes to the planet, we are not the solution. We have to find the answers from those that work in harmony with the planet. And that primarily for me are all the animals, and of course the indigenous people too. And so that's where we get to hear the great lessons. And we get to remind ourselves, you know, of that connection, that deep connection. So, you know, having Kate on the trips with us that really intrinsically understands that and already has that deep appreciation and understanding of the important role that wildlife have to play on helping us on an individual level, but also as a species, is very powerful. And I'm so appreciative of, you know, our lovely connection. There was no coincidence in that. So I feel very blessed that we've been able to connect in the way that we did, like soul sisters, and we got on famously well and are both aligned, you know, with our mission and vision, which is always a blessing to have. So thanks, Kate. I really appreciate that. Okay. So going on to our actual virtual tour. So Awakening to the Ancient Elephant Song. We're doing it in support of the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust in Kenya. The dates are the 20th of September to the 1st of October 2019. So I don't know if you remember this iconic movie called Out of Africa, but even as a young girl, besides the fact that I fell in love with Robert Redford, it just really sang to my heart. There was just something so amazing. Not so much about the film itself, because there were all kinds of interesting challenges in it, but more of the incredible life in Kenya, and especially those iconic scenes where they went up in the aeroplane flying over the plains of Kenya. So Kenya's always had a very special place in my heart. I went there on honeymoon on my first marriage. And so it had an even deeper meaning for me. And having gone back there last year was like going home. There's no doubt that that's where my soul is being called to. And I'm planning to actually go out there for 3 months this year to see if maybe I shouldn't move there for a couple of years to continue to do the work that I do. So for me personally, it has a very important connotation. But, on the public stage, for me, Kenya is really about the authentic African safari experience. And of course, the iconic African elephant, which Kenya has a lot of. And they have a great success rate in protecting their elephants, which is one of the main reasons we want to support them. So that's pretty much where that came from. Our main focus for the first day of the trip is to go and visit the baby orphan elephants at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust in Nairobi itself. So the orphanage has, I think over the last 20 or 25 years, reintroduced over 100 orphaned elephants back into the wild successfully. And it's incredible the work that they do. This photo on the left is actually one of our guests from last year, who's just absolutely crazy about elephants and in fact knows everything about the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust and has supported them for many, many years. We were able to sponsor 14 orphaned elephants as a group, which we would like to do again this year. And continue to do so on an ongoing basis. Because the money that we can put forward, which is only $50 per elephant for a year, really goes a long way to looking after them. We get to do 2 visits, one in the morning, which is a group visit with pretty much everybody else that's booked in to go see the elephants. And it's really to watch them and learn about them. While they're having their mud bath, which they all run down to come and do in front of a big group of people. And it is just tremendous to see how much they, love to play in the mud and the water and how well they're looked after by their keepers. It's just an incredible organization. And then in the afternoon, we go to meet each of our own specific sponsored elephants. Privately. So we get a chance to go into their stalls. Well, we don't go into the stalls, but go into the area of the stalls. And then they come back for a feed, and then their keeper and themselves go back into the stalls, and we get a chance to spend private time with them, which is just such an incredible experience because they love people and they're very affectionate. Not all the time, they're just like normal kids. Sometimes they like you, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they want to play, sometimes they don't. But it is a truly incredible experience. It's where you get to, touch them and get a real good idea of how they looked after, and you can speak to their keepers and learn a little bit more about them. In between the 2 visits, we do go to the Giraffe Center, which is an interesting tourist experience, which Kate will be speaking more about when we get to the actual trip. But it is an opportunity to see giraffes more upfront and personal, but it is very commercial. And it's important for us to understand how to react and behave in that environment so that we're always thinking of the animal instead of ourselves. But it is a great experience because it'll give you your first opportunity if you haven't seen the beautiful, what I call the angels of the bush, upfront and personal. So that's how we're going to be spending our first day. And then we fly off to the Masai Mara. Now, one of the main reasons that we're flying is because it's 7 hours otherwise to drive from Nairobi to where our particular camp is. And the roads are okay, but it is a very long trip. And what we wanted to do with this adventure was to ensure that we actually spent more time with the animals rather than traveling. And so it's been specifically designed that way. So we would fly into, we'll be on the Mara River, which literally goes from inside the Masai Mara all the way through in Kenya to Tanzania. And it's a great location in the Masai Mara, where, of course, you get the iconic mass migration that happens every year. Now, it'll be towards the end of the migration, and so it can never be guaranteed because sometimes they're late, sometimes they're early. But we will definitely see huge, huge herds of different types of animal species. And yes, you see all kinds of animals, from these beautiful giraffes to elephants. And we'll be doing a hot air balloon ride. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So the Masai Mara ecosystem contains about 25% of what is left of the Kenyan wildlife. It is owned by the Maasai people. It's not a public reserve like the rest of Kenya. It is actually owned by the Maasai and run by the Maasai people. They estimate that there's about 70% of Kenya's wildlife outside of the national parks and reserves. They're actually in private game reserves. Thus, there's a need for a new role model preserving the Mara wildlife on private land as much as it is in the public land. We've lost 95 to 98% of most of our mammals over the last 100 years or so. It just tells you a lot about what we're doing to the planet. So, you know, we're in a critical time right now where we have to stop doing, and it's mostly environmental, it's taking the land. Yes, there is the poaching and the hunting, but it's really the land problem. And the Maasai people themselves have come into conflict with this. You can read a bit more about that in the itinerary, so I won't cover it now, but please do read about it. It's very interesting. And even them, as you know, the indigenous people of the land are having to learn to work, to live more harmoniously in contact with wildlife than they have done previously. I won't go through all the facts there. You can read some of that. Basically, it is a combination in that particular area of the largest amount of species. And especially during the migration, yes, it's mostly around the wildebeest, but you have a lot of antelope that come out, the giraffes, the elephants, and pretty much all the animal species come out during that time. And of course, so do the big cats, the predators too. So it has a very unique feel to it. There is nothing like it on the planet. I have been to many game parks, game reserves, private game lodges all over Africa, but the Masai Mara has its own unique ecosystem and just the way that it works. It's just an amazing experience. We will be doing a hot air balloon ride, which is that's a picture actually of us on the left-hand side there. Kate is in the purpley bluey top, and Kathy's next to her in the purple top over there. They have a wonderful GoPro little camera that kind of swings out from the balloon that takes these amazing pictures. And it is a rather strange experience getting into the baskets, which are turned on their side, and they kind of put you in like sardines because it's got a little seat in it, and then they tip it up, and then it goes up. It's very strange, but a lot of fun. Pardon me. Oh. And if you see in that picture the little lines going through the bush there, those are actually tracks of animal tracks. And so we do get to go up and down and follow them. It's the most beautiful experience. And even those that could be a little bit nervous about going up in a hot air balloon, it's perfectly safe. And in fact, the ladies last year were very surprised at how that how comfortable they felt, even though a couple of them had problems with going up quite high. And the other pictures, our wonderful Kathy took them, of the hippos in the Mara River, which were just so sweet with their babies. And 4 of the 5 musketeers, we call them, which are 5 male leopards who've decided to join in their own pride, which is very, very unusual. And they don't just hunt together, they actually stay together all the time. So it's extremely rare to see this, and I think there's actually going to be a documentary made about them. An organization called Safari Live, who do live streaming of safaris in the Masai Mara, have been following them quite extensively. And so they're a beautiful bunch of 5 male leopards, cheetahs. We'll be spending some time with the Maasai people themselves. Sorry, somebody's sending me a message. Oh, cheetah, not leopards. Yes, thank you. It happens sometimes when my brain's a bit foggy. So the Maasai people, we will actually be going to visit a traditional Maasai village. You see the picture on the right-hand side. That's exactly what a village looks like. Even in today's time. And the colors they wear and the beads and so on are exactly how they are. Some are more dressed up for ceremonial purposes, but even going out and herding the goats, you'll see on the left-hand side, the guys that are jumping up and down there, those colors that they wear, they actually go out into the bush with their goats and cows and so on in their attire, and you see them walking along the road and so on. We will be spending time getting to know and understand their culture. We're hoping that we will have an audience with the chief and the medical person for the village. They are semi-nomadic in that after the houses are no longer structurally suitable because they wear down after a certain period of time, they will move the village to a new area and rebuild completely. There are a lot of challenges that the Maasai people have. There are only about 1.5 million Maasai in a population of over 60 million. So they're not a very big tribe, but of course they're the most famous because of the nature of their tribal traditions and of course the colors and dancing and so on. As you can imagine, with the bringing in of education, and the government has insisted that all African children in Kenya are to be educated, and includes the Maasai, that they're losing a lot of their traditions, especially with the young people becoming educated and not wanting to stay in the traditional tribes, wanting to move into the cities and so on. So this is another challenge that they are now facing with this new generation, and especially with mobile phones, because they all seem to have one. It's quite extraordinary. So a lot to learn from them. And also, we want to spend time honoring what they do, looking at the beautiful beadwork that they make, and you'll have lots of opportunities to purchase that. And I mean, it's really difficult. There is so much choice. But an incredible tribe to learn a lot from. Okay. Come on, computer. Next one. Nope. Next one. Sorry, let me try and see why it's not going again.
While you're working on that,
yeah,
one of the things that I wanted to share with everyone that again makes our trip very different is that we're going to be doing some classes about how to quiet your mind, understand how your energy works, meaning are we sending our energy out at animals, people, or are we holding it in? Animals are reading our energy fields all the time. And as Tamar mentioned, when you're working with wild ones, what we want to do is be less obtrusive, meaning we want to hold our energy and be very gentle towards them, which of course makes us much more attractive. to the wild ones, and much more approachable, and allows them to feel comfortable around us. And this is something that I will be working with everyone on the trip to help you find that quiet place in yourself, that not only will it help you observe more deeply, be more present, be able to connect in a more deep way with the animals and the land around us. Kathy talked about how, as a photographer, you really learn how to be quiet and pay attention. And this is paying attention and being aware on many deeper levels than we're used to.
Yeah.
And once we learn how to do these, and we will practice this with every group of animals we meet. So the very first time we see the giraffes, we will take pictures first and get that out of our system, so to speak. But then we're going to practice being really present with them and watch how they respond. And when we do that as a group, there's some magical energy that happens.
Yeah.
You know, when there's one of us doing it, it's special. But when all of us are going to do it, the animals will absolutely perceive a difference in us. And this is something I'm really excited to help you all remember how to do, to become aware and present with your energies, so that you can decide how you're going to be with an animal, also with people, because of course people respond to these energies as well. So it has an effect of making us more mindful and aware and present in our lives in ways we normally just aren't in our very busy world, and most people are not. So I'm very excited to be able to share that experience, but also help you, each of our adventurers on our trip, learn their own way of accessing this ability. So I just wanted to share that. So
that's great, thank you. And it is true. It's what makes it a very different experience, and therefore the experience intensifies and becomes really truly life-changing, because when you do connect with the animals, and you get this beautiful, I can't explain, it's like they have so much compassion and so much love for us that you come away from that experience truly changed from the inside out. So it definitely makes it special. All right, let's try this again. I don't know why the system is doing it. It's very odd. But anyway. Lake Navasha is our next stop. So once we spent 3 days in the Masai Mara, and of course we've done our hot air balloon ride too. We've been out in the bush a number of times, doing game rides in the morning and in the afternoon. We will be staying one night here in Lake Navasha, where we will have a different kind of safari, and that will be on the lake in a boat. And our main focus is to see the wonderful hippos that are in this lake, and other wildlife, including fish eagles and some waterbuck and various other animals. As well as the property we'll be staying at has a lot of animals walking around in their gardens, which are very used to humans, which is quite an unusual experience, as you can imagine, as you can see in the photo on the left-hand side. So your domesticated horses walking around with a few giraffe. So a very unusual experience, but a great opportunity to engage in a slightly different way. And the water safari is a lot of fun. Then we go to the most amazing experience, I think, with regards to the elephants, which is in Amboseli National Park. So Amboseli is positioned right in front of Mount Kilimanjaro, which is just, it's a beautiful backdrop, very, very flat land, as you can see, very marshy, so lots of water and lots of vegetation. Therefore, the elephants are absolutely enormous. They are the largest elephants in Africa you can find in Amboseli. And you also get very large herds of them. And they are just incredible. You can see in the top right-hand picture, the water line on the elephant on the left is, up to its tummy, because they literally stand in marshy land water and are eating all the time. And the opportunities for photography and for connection is so incredible, because there's pretty much no trees anywhere, as you can see. So a wonderful place to stay. We'll be in Amboseli for a couple of days. That is the place that we'll be staying, the beautiful four-poster bed. We'll be at the safari lodge that we'll be staying at in Amboseli. So we'll spend a couple of days there. And then we move on to Tsavo National Park. Tsavo National Park is one of the largest parks in Kenya. We'll actually be going to Tsavo East National Park, which just has a huge variety of vegetation and an incredible variety of all kinds of animal species. We'll be staying at a fantastic place called the Voi Lodge. That picture on the right-hand side there and the one on the bottom left-hand side are of the watering holes that are right outside the front of the lodge. So we were just sitting there having a little gathering, and this enormous cloud of red dust, as you can see in the picture on the top right, started coming with this very dark black line of animals. And within 10 minutes, we had over 1,000 Cape buffalo come, and obviously all the other animals skedaddled while these guys came in. Were there for about 20 minutes, got their water and left in another dust cloud. And then all the other animals came back. So as you see in the picture on the left, lots of elephants, zebra, antelope, incredible. So we were having our own safari without even leaving the lodge. It was just such an amazing experience. We will also then go to the Reintegration Center, which belongs to the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. It's only about half an hour from the lodge, where we go to meet, again, some young elephants, but most of them are teenagers, and they've been reintegrated back into the wild. So there's less human contact with most of them. This picture on the left, there were a few of them that were still quite young, baby ones, and because they were found in Tsavo, they weren't moved to Nairobi, they were left in Tsavo, so they go into the Reintegration Center. And that's the lovely Bonnie, one of our guests, having a fun time with one of the little baby Ellies. It was very special because it was only us at the Reintegration Center, so we got to spend a good 2 hours with the elephants, very informative. They had a baby eland and a baby zebra and buffalo that we also got to meet. And again, they were being reintegrated back into the wild again. So incredible project that the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is involved in, and another great opportunity for us to really connect.
Can I share one thing?
Sure.
That it really tells you how magical and how connected the Sheldrick people are. One of the main keeper there, Joseph, told us that because the eland, which is a beautiful antelope, you guys can look her up, she's exquisite. The eland, the zebra or zebra, and the Cape buffalo were all babies that were, either their mother was killed or they were in a trap or what have you, and they were brought back to the trust to be healed. And then when they are ready to go, they leave on their own. They leave. But here's what he told us that I thought I will never forget this. He said, one of the things that happens when they return to the wild is they will easily merge back into their herd and let go of their relationships with people. However, if another member of the herd who's never been with humans before is injured, that animal, that eland, will bring that herd member back to the Voi Integration Center to be treated and healed. So the animals absolutely know that the compassion of these people, their ability to help them heal, will also help their herd mates. And so they help their herd mate get over any fear or normal instinctual aversion to people, because they'll communicate that this is a safe place. You can come, you will be healed, you will not be kept there, and all will be well. That is extraordinary. Thanks, Tamara.
I want to unmute. Okay. All right, can you hear me now? Okay, good. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Yes? Okay, sorry, I went offline there. It wouldn't unmute me for some bizarre reason. System's doing very strange things. Okay. So yes, yeah, incredible situation there. And a lot of the animals do keep coming back every now and then to come and get their bottles of milk, even though they've gone back into the wild. They'll pop in sometimes just to say hello and reconnect with their humans. It's an incredible setup. Okie doke. I don't know what my system is doing. Okay, sorry, I'm just going to have to come out of this again. I don't know if it's my internet that's creating this, because we've done so many of these before and I've never had a problem.
It could be the internet. Your connection maybe.
And nothing's changed, you know, it's very strange. Anyway, let me go back into that and share the screen again. And just okay. So we then, after we've spent 3 days in Tsavo, we then end up with our trip ending in Mombasa. Now, Mombasa is the coastal capital. It's very popular for holidays. I mean, it's got beautiful white sand beaches, palm trees. So we'll be spending our last night just relaxing, recalling all our amazing experiences, checking in for our flights, for leaving the next day if you're doing that, and just getting our feet back on the ground again. So we'll be staying in lovely sea-facing rooms, and then the next day basically is the opportunity to either continue on the add-on tour, which I'll talk a little bit more about just now, or for people to go home. So I just wanted to share a couple of things that make our adventure quite different to anything that's out there in the marketplace. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that we don't want it to just be you come on the adventure and that's the end of our relationship or experience with you. So we do a number of pre-event online sessions, really just to connect each other and get to know each other a bit better before we all arrive in Kenya. So really just about sharing intentions and what we're hoping to happen, and if we have an experience or we've got lots and lots and lots and lots of questions, which I'm always here and Kate's always here to help answer for you. We also do some pre-event interspecies communication training with Kate, and that's really to help prepare you and allow you time to practice, to put into practice the opportunity of getting into those deep states of intuitive connection. I will also be doing a pre-event conscious living with nature course, where I'll show you the 7C principles of conscious living and how they play out in nature. In fact, that's how I got those 7C principles, and I apply them in my everyday life, whether it be the way I live, the way I do business, the people I deal with, or the adventures that we're doing. We'll also be having a great wildlife photography lesson with our wonderful wildlife photographer, Kathy, who is on this trip with us, and she will be helping to prepare and help you to maximize the opportunity of taking your photographs. And there were some things that she was sharing with us last night that are very key to why she gets some of the most amazing pictures that you've seen on this presentation. And so even with those few little nuggets that we know, I can see that our photographs are going to be a whole lot better. So that's a great added bonus that we have this year. Of course, you'll have me as the full-time event manager and coordinator who will take care of all your pre-event needs as well as during the event too. So the tour guides that we have, they have limited experience when it comes to a lot of customer service things, and that's where I come into play. So to make sure that, you know, we're traveling on time, everything's as it should be. We're booked in correctly. You've got everything that you need, and so on. So I'll pretty much be on duty for the full 12 days. Then we have on-site training and application of your interspecies communication with Kate. And so this is for a full 12 days. This is direct personal access to Kate for 12 days. So you want to maximize your time with her, because this is a very unusual opportunity. It's not normal that you'll be able to ever spend that kind of time with an interspecies communicator. So it's a great time to practice, ask all the questions, get all the information you need to get, and really dive deeply into applying what you're learning, so that when you go home a really changed person from the experience. We have created this as a very private and an intimate design tour to really maximize the time that we have with the animals and the opportunities of experiencing communing with them. And so that really is the focus of what we're doing, as well as obviously the 2 visits to the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust Orphanage in Nairobi to learn more about their project and obviously meet your sponsored Ellies in person. In addition, we have the visit to the Giraffe Centre, where we get up close and personal with the Angel of the Bush, the Voi Reintegration Centre for the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, the flight to Mara and from Nairobi, and then from Mombasa back to Nairobi. So we're reducing your long travel times between locations. So when you are leaving Mombasa, you will fly back to Nairobi to collect your onward flight. Otherwise, it would be an 8-hour drive. So again, we've taken into consideration not putting you on the Kenyan roads for as little time as necessary. In addition, we have great quality of accommodation to ensure maximum comfort while trying to be as authentic as possible. So this is not a super luxury and it's not basic, it's kind of in the middle. And each of the facilities that we've chosen have wonderful assets to each of them. They're all quite a different experience, but really comfortable. Of course, the once-in-a-lifetime Magnificent Hot Air balloon ride, which comes with a scrummy breakfast and a game drive as part of the package. The amazing hippo boat ride on the Lake Naivasha and the Masai Mara village visit and learning experience. And then we have a very high-quality 4x4 Land Cruiser that we bring, rather than the traditional cars that they use. They have better seats, it's more comfortable, better viewing opportunities, so every person has their own opportunity to be able to have a clear view. And it has a pop-up ceiling that you can properly stand up and actually have a really good natural view of everything around you. And so we've chosen that specifically, mainly because of the distances that we'll be doing and the roads, just to make sure that it's more comfortable for all of us. So your contribution for this adventure is $7,200 per person sharing. There's a 1,500 single supplement, and the reason for this is Kenya is not fond of giving what they would consider a twin room for a single person. And the reason for that is because it's an extremely popular destination. It is one of the more expensive destinations to go to, particularly the Masai Mara itself. We are not, as an organization, in this for making money. That is not our intention. Our intention is to really educate, and therefore we've tried to keep the costs as minimum as we can. However, there are all those additional elements that we've included on the trip that obviously add to the cost. So when it comes to singles, they limit us to a maximum of 3. And they are given on a first-come, first-served basis. There is a non-refundable deposit of $3,600 with your registration. And the reason that it's non-refundable is in order to get the best possible prices, we have to do it on a minimum of 6 people. And therefore, if somebody pays a deposit and then closer to the date they can't come, and we suddenly have to pay them back their deposit, it changes the financial dynamics for everybody on the group. And therefore, it's a challenge for us to be able to recoup that cost. And so we've had to, just for the purpose of ensuring that if one person pulls out, it doesn't affect everybody else, to ensure that we have the minimum number of 6 and that we don't we have non-refundable deposits. So, you know, it is one of those situations that if there is an extreme situation, of course, we'll try to consider that. And we've given ourselves a little bit of a leeway. So, you know, if we have to, we can make it happen with 5. And that's some adjustment that I will have to make on the back end. But this is the way it has to be created because it's such a specialized event. It is a personal and private event. It is not a general tour. So we really have tried to keep the costs as low as possible. It is 12 days. It includes absolutely everything from the time you arrive to the time you depart, other than your international flight to and from Nairobi. So that's the only cost that you will need to cover. There might be, you know, basic incidentals and drinks and stuff that you will need to pay for yourself and your visa, which is only about $60. There was a discount of $720 per person sharing for the first 3 bookings. Those have already been taken up, I'm afraid. So we've sold out on those. We have a minimum of 6 people and a maximum of 10, so keeping the group very, very small. So we have 7 places left. We are closing registration at the end of March, just so that it can give all of us time to start organizing our flights and preparing for the trip, because there's a lot for us to put together for that. We also have some additional bonus items. So for the first 3 people who have signed up, they will get bonus items worth up to $950. They'll get 2 extra interspecies communication sessions with Kate, the Elephant Council recording that Kate did, and 2 conscious living private sessions with myself. For all the other guests, they will also get 1 follow-up interspecies session with Kate after the adventure, and a conscious lifestyle one with myself after the adventure, plus the Elephant Council recording from Kate. So everybody will receive that. So there's a couple of extra bonus items that we've included. The add-on tour, this is, and this came out of being asked by a number of people that if they were coming out to Africa for that period of time, they wanted to maximize the time that they were coming. So we added on a tour that was primarily based in Mombasa, but gave you additional animal experiences and safaris in the Mombasa area. One of them is the beautiful Shimba Hills, where you will find the forest elephants. They're smaller because of the forests, but really a completely different experience, plus a number of day experiences to 2 different wildlife sanctuaries. One of them, as you can see in the picture on the right-hand side, is another giraffe center where you can go and feed the giraffe and spend time with them. And the one on the left is pretty much where you can walk around amongst the animals, have a picnic. So it's a very different kind of safari experience, but also very enjoyable. Picture in the top right-hand corner is the location where we will be staying. That's the actual hotel. So that will be for an additional 6 days. That you can book directly with our tour operator. It is outside of our main adventure, but it just means that you can extend your stay for that period. We did find a few of the ladies last year wanting to do that, mainly just to have some downtime after the trip, because it is pretty busy, and to find their feet again and to have a couple of additional experiences and maximize their time in Africa. Because for some people, it'll be a once-in-a-lifetime experience for them. So we do offer that. The details are on the website for that, so please feel free. It's about, I think, $1,500. It's not an expensive addition to the trip. And again, you know, we try to keep the rates down as low as possible. So, you know, the question is, will you answer Africa's call for this once-in-a-lifetime adventure? For me, this is what it's about. It's the animals are inviting us to come and spend that very precious time with them, to just reconnect with nature, have amazing interactions and experiences in their environment. You're going into their world, so it changes the dynamic quite seriously. And we know that everybody that's been on these trips before, it's very profound for a lot of them. They certainly don't go back the same as they came. So, Asante Sana, which is Kenyan way of saying thank you. And if there are any questions from anybody, I'm just going to stop sharing. Just before I do, that picture on the right here is one of those day facilities where you can go and actually have a picnic. And these wonderful, that's an eland. There with the giraffe, and you can actually stand and watch them and take amazing photos and so on. And of course, that's the iconic, beautiful elephant with Mount Kilimanjaro in the background. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing and unmute everybody. If you have any questions or any comments you'd like to make, I am happy to answer them. Same with Kate. Unmute people. Okay, unmute. 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 Hopefully I've got everybody unmuted. Hey, Joni. You got any questions, Joni?
No, I really don't.
Okay. Oh, I can't hear. Is somebody saying something?
Can you hear us?
Yes, if you come closer.
Okay, yeah. Kathy's helping me out quite a bit. I've already had my pit hat. She hasn't seen it yet, so.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Any questions from anybody?
Tamar, can you speak a little bit more about the inter-country air flight? Like, what is it? A little bush plane? Is it a, you know, what is it?
I love your question because it's very relevant, because I had the same question when I was like, because I get airsick. So I'm like, in those little planes, I'm like, whoa, how big is the plane? Well, it seats 2 people on each side. So it's not a little plane, but it's not a big jumbo. So it seats 4 people across. So 2 people on each side with an aisle down the middle. So they are relatively large. They fly 2 or 3 times a day. It's a very popular international location, as you can imagine. So a lot of international people flying into Nairobi and then taking those flights into the Masai Mara. So very reliable, never had any accidents, never had any problems.
There are about 30 people, I think, right? 30 people on a plane, something like that.
It's a bit more than that. I think it's about 60. Yeah, it's about
that many.
Between 30 to 60 people, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it feels very stable, Pat. It because I'm not a small plane person either.
No.
And so it felt comfortable. I've taken smaller planes from like Boston to New York. so yeah.
As long as we can drink before we get on the plane.
You can do whatever you like. Drink on the plane if you like.
a nice mimosa in the morning. Will fix you up.
Sorry, Tony?
I'm a pilot, so I can help her out, you know.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes, if we won't need it, but thank you. I hope we won't need it. You can have delays. That's the only thing that can happen. I had a delay coming back from the Masai Mara, which was because I had to catch the international flight. But they're all aware. So even if the international flights need to leave and they know they've got people coming in through on the local flight, they wait. So they're quite advanced because of the nature of the international tourism. Tourism is their second GDP for the country. Their first is coffee and tea. So that's their first income earner, but tourism is their second. So they take it very, very seriously. And it is perfectly set up for that. But it's one of the reasons why, it's an expensive location to go to. But considering, when I did research on the different prices and so on, and I was talking to Kathy about this the other day, with all the added things that we've included, which normally get added on, so they give you a nice price and then add on everything, ours has come out pretty average, and we have the whole additional aspect of the animal communing and all the additional Sheldrick Wildlife Trust stuff that we're doing. So we wanted to try and be, reasonable with that, but at the same time ensure that we weren't spending hours and hours and hours traveling, which is what we did last year. So we learned from that first session, and one of the reasons we decided we needed to do the flight to the Mara and fly back from Mombasa to Nairobi.
I have another question. I'm a photographer.
Yes.
How much gear can you take with you?
How much gear? As much.
Yeah, I mean, is it just depend on what you want to carry?
Correct. Well, yes and no, or how much you want to pay for, because they'll charge you extra over, because of the smaller planes that we're flying on. We'll be probably looking at 25 kilos maximum for your suitcase. And then if you've got anything additional to that, it's going to be your own account. So it can be a little bit pricey. You'll have to speak more to Kathy about that, because she'll tell you what she took with her and what's great and not great.
Can't hear you.
I made that list, Tamar,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of what I took.
Yes.
Which you're going to share, I think, with everybody. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Kathy made a list of all the stuff that she put together. But there wasn't any how heavy it was or how many kilos it was it?
No, but I carried a lot of it. I took 2 cameras and 2 lenses, and can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. And it was pretty heavy, as you well know. If you're a photographer, you know. But I just carried it.
Right.
I spread
Yeah,
it
rather than in your suitcase.
in my suitcase. No, you can put any of it in my suitcase. I carried a carry-on and my purse.
Okay.
Both of which were pretty
Yeah, I have a backpack that I have for my gear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be perfect for it. Yeah. So yes, I don't think there was anything else. Anything else from anybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Are we going to have roommates?
You can if you want, or single. It's up to you.
Oh, okay.
Entirely up
And
to
how do we obtain a visa?
you. Online, and I will send you the details, and it's very easy to do.
Really easy.
Yes. And nobody gets turned away, or not that I know of.
Okay.
Any health requirements or shots or anything these days?
So yes, they recommend that you should have some done, but here's my view on it. However, you have to make up your own mind. Okay, none of us? Well, some of us had some done last year. I think a couple of people had their shots done. We are in a malaria area. However, it's very low. Sorry, hold on a second.
I can help. It's a very low malaria area, Kenya is, as opposed to Tanzania and some of the other countries. So, again, it's up to you. They do make some recommendations. Last year, I just did homeopathics. My friend Bonnie set me up with the homeopathic regimen before the trip, during the trip, and I was never concerned. And actually, and Kathy and Tamar, you might corroborate this, there weren't a lot of mosquitoes.
No.
I mean, and we had all those beautiful netting around our beds, but I never had any mosquitoes.
I
Flies
didn't
maybe,
either.
but
Not even one.
yeah. So again, you can do your own research, but I was never concerned about bugs or water for that matter, because the
Yeah, we
food,
supply all the drinking water. So
yeah,
we recommend, even in the safari camp, is even if you're brushing your teeth, use the drinking water to do that. But you can shower, that's not a problem. And the food and stuff you can eat, that's not a problem. There are no issues around that. In fact, the
yeah.
food was, really good. It's very untouched by pesticides and all kinds of yucky, icky things. It's all very natural. And also they cater for vegans and vegetarians. So, they've got a huge range in most of the places that we go, and a lot of really good choice for people. I certainly enjoyed the food. I was pleasantly surprised, because I'm always concerned when we go to more Central African type places when it comes to the food, but they were really good.
It was always a buffet. So
Yes.
there was always lots of food to choose from,
Yeah.
always fresh fruit, often a salad, but again, totally safe to eat. Breakfast, they'd make you omelets. There were just lovely food. My one problem was there wasn't enough chocolate, so I'm going to bring chocolate.
Bring chocolate.
Yeah, so if they do make anything chocolatey, it disappears very quickly. So yes, if you do like chocolate, and I did buy some in one of those curio shops. There were a couple of curio shops that had a few in the food, but it is quite warm. It's quite humid during the time that we go, but we're lucky because we're out of the main peak season of all the tourists and stuff. So it's a lot quieter, which is another major benefit. So you don't have so many people around and so many cars. And of course, we're in our own private vehicle, which makes a big difference. And we can pretty much do whatever we like in that. I mean, one particular one, our driver said, "Oh, I've got a feeling that the lions are over here on the right." And so we went off to the right of the path, the main path, and there they were. Incredible. And we had our own personal 20 minutes with them, which was wonderful. So we
It was
did.
really magical. What, 4 lionesses, Kathy, or were there 4?
Yeah.
And they just hung out with us, right? For like 20 minutes. It was totally magical. And, oh, yes. No other cars around, no other people, just us and the lionesses.
They didn't come up where we were.
No.
Yeah, none of the cars. And also, we were very lucky. We did tell them afterwards that they had been there. We just didn't tell them when we arrived. Mainly because, you do want that private time. And other people are doing it too. Before then, they share it with their friends that, hey, mate, there's, a leopard here or a cheetah there or, a group of lions there. So our guide did say that he thought we were a bunch of white witches, the way that we were getting the animals to appear out of nowhere. He wasn't really used to that at all. So he meant that in an affectionate way because, of course, he had really great experiences. And we've asked for the same guy again. He's a huge enthusiast for all kinds of different creatures, especially the birds. He loves the birds. And the lions, of course. Yep.
Well, Ronnie, his name is Ronnie, and he's just a doll. He's in his 30s, has a little girl, a little baby daughter. But, one of the things that the drivers do when they sight lions or elephants, they call each other, so then different vehicles will kind of convene on, where the animals are. Well, Ronnie got, we got very clear with Ronnie that we wanted to go places where there weren't a lot of other people. And that lion experience was because he really got it, that we wanted some private time with the lionesses because of our very different energy. And so he really made that happen. He didn't call it in until we were basically finished because the girls were like, okay, we're going off to do what we do today. We've had our morning chat with you all and our visit with you, but he was very sweet. He really caught on that we were doing something quite different than his normal safari passengers.
Yeah, we're not big into looking for the hunt, or the kill of animals. We were like, yes, Ronnie, that may be nice for other people, but for us, it's really not necessary for us to see that. Okay, anything else from anybody? No? All right. With that, I'm just going to say thank you very much for giving us your wonderful time and for allowing us to share this wonderful experience that Kate and I have co-created. And if you have any questions, please just let us know. If you want to book, let me know. I will send through, we have an application form, which is just a one-page. I call it an application form, it isn't. It's just an information page about yourself. And once you send that through to us, we'll send you through the booking form. And as soon as we have 5 or 6 people registered, we will then confirm with everybody, and then we can go ahead and start booking flights. We want to try and do that as soon as possible because it makes the price a lot cheaper for the flight. So we don't want to delay that any longer than the end of March.
Kate, you know my friend Bet Rittinger, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
That's how I found out about you. She sent me an email.
Oh, lovely. That is an alpaca person, and she has a lovely alpaca shop.
I've known Bet for years. We were in Chicago together.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's lovely. I'm so glad. Give her my love.
I will. I wish you would come.
Oh, me too.
Tamar,
Yes,
one
darling.
more question from me.
Yes, darling.
Hopefully we'll make it, but what if we didn't have enough people, say at least 5? Would the deposit be refundable?
Yes. So if we don't have enough, which I have to tell you has never happened. And,
Okay.
and the reason being that, you know, if the event is meant to go ahead, it goes ahead, no matter what happens. And I always have faith that when I put these things together and I get called to do them again, there's a reason. And so I, you know, pretty much trust the universe will supply whoever needs to be on the trip.
Okay.
So 6 would be perfect, but we could do it with 5. And so as soon as we get 5 registered, I will confirm with everybody.
Okay.
And so we just need another 2. Yes, these 2. That would be perfect. All right. Is that it? Yes? All, Kathy?
I just have to say I've done a fair amount of traveling in my day, and it is the best trip I have ever been on. Hence, I'm doing it again. It's just, I can't recommend it enough.
Great.
Thank you, Kathy. That's very sweet of you. And being a wildlife photographer, I can appreciate how special that experience must be for you. And look at all the beautiful photos you brought back last time. How many photos did you actually take? Oh, can't hear you.
14 or 15,000.
Good God. Must have taken you ages to go through that. But I remember the camera going click, 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 click. Click, click, the shutter going click, 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 click.
Oh, Tamar, so do I go to your website to fill out the registration form?
No, you can email me at the email I sent you earlier if you'd like to go ahead, and I'll send you the form.
Okay.
Actually, what I'll do is I will email everybody afterwards with a copy of this recording, and I will include the application form and the booking form for you all. So you can read the terms and conditions and everything else there too. How does that sound? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm going to be tootling off to bed. I did have a bit of a snooze earlier, so I'm all good. But thank you for joining us. Appreciate it so much, and keep in contact.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.